AI is not a technology problem. It fundamentally is a leadership problem.
Welcome to The Parallel Entrepreneur. This is a special series on innovation supported by Relationary Marketing and the Chase Studios, recorded at the Greater Nashville Technology Council Innovation Summit. I'm joined today by guest host Johnny Anderson. He's the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Sit back and join us for this special edition of having authentic conversations with people that care. Some conversations around AI are loud. This episode features Jon Hilton, who is super grounded on the topic. Jon leads the AI practice at LBMC and spends his time helping organizations turn ambition into execution. He's a data scientist, a former EY and ExxonMobil leader, and a West Point graduate who served 2 combat tours and earned the Bronze Star. What I appreciate about Jon is how he brings structure to the chaos. He spent time talking about 2 things with me that really matter. Number 1, why most AI efforts fail, and 2, what it actually takes to build AI that scales responsibly inside complex organizations. This is a conversation for leaders who want progress, not hype. So let's dive right in.
We'll be talking a lot about AI leadership. Really, the thesis is right now, AI is not a technology problem. It fundamentally is a leadership problem. And some recent statistics are really starting to back that up. Recent survey found that 75% of C-suite executives said their AI adoption has been going well over the past 12 months or been successful, and 45% of their people say the same thing. And then 89 or 80-some plus percent of C-suite executives are saying they have a clear AI strategy, and 57% of their people say the same thing. So something's wrong here. And we are not going to get, companies and organizations are not going to get where they want to go on AI if they don't start figuring this out. And it's really a misalignment. So that's a big leadership problem. Just trying to talk about how do you really solve that.
I love that. And this is a leading question, but I'm going to do it on purpose. What are some maybe unique life experiences that you've had that you can bring to the table, analogies that you can use?
Yeah, that's part of it. And I know you gentlemen know me and some of my background, but I'm a West Point graduate, did 2 combat tours in Iraq, and then got out and got into corporate leadership. And a lot of what I've started to see is there's a lot of analogies of where we are as a society and an organization with AI as you find yourself in a combat situation. And it's not to be macabre or dark. It's just, what are the key things that you face when you're about to go on a mission or you're in those kind of environments? You face a lot of fear, uncertainty, and chaos. At any time, something that's well planned could go completely sideways. You have an unknown of what's out there at all times, and you have to be the one to start to dictate the situation. It requires a lot of planning and preparation, and being a leader is one of the fundamental aspects. And so that's part of what I've started to say is, hey, there's some things here I've learned, and that's the nature of even being in corporations, of what you're going to face as you take on any initiative. And so it's really starting to think about, how do I use my leadership principles here? If we know it's a leadership issue, not a technology issue, what are some of the things that we can really apply to help move our organizations forward with AI in a meaningful way? In
general, tell us something you're working on right now to make that impact. What are you being intentional about when it comes to leveraging veterans to solve some of these problems?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what we're really here trying to start up again as the Greater Nashville Tech Council's peer group for veterans. Had a great showing there in the pre-COVID era. Like many things, COVID tended to sap some energy, and so we're trying to relaunch that and really start first and foremost with, can we build a community for veterans as technology professionals?
Well, you've got a target-rich environment here, as they say in the military, right? We've got Clarksville just up the street. A lot of the focus of educating leaders in a combat or a military environment relies on technology. And I think maybe the competitive relative effectiveness of any armed force is going to be tied to its technology and its use and deployment in service of the mission. So How does military technology in the greater Nashville region, how has Nashville done in the producing and creating and graduating of technologies that wound up having a military use either first or ultimately, in your experience in this ecosystem?
Yeah, it's a great question. First I'll just kind of I'm not as involved in the military technology development. Maybe I can speak to the development of the veterans, with, like I said, with Clarksville being such a large, 101st Airborne being there, and then others that are coming from other bases around. I think it teaches you a lot about, how to handle problems and understand and seek to learn, right, and become much better at that. And so I'll probably have to punt on the what is being developed in Nashville for military technology. To be fair, some of it probably is quite secret. But obviously there's a lot of things that are the AI adoption in the battlefield is very important to the future of warfare. But that's not obviously not my area of expertise. But I do think there is a lot that veterans bring to organizations in terms of their ability to adapt and overcome and to learn new skills and to be leaders in a place where, again, this is really about leadership right now of how do I take this technology and move it forward. One observation on that point is, I talk in my role as a consultant to a lot of C-suite executives and even CIOs, and what we're finding is that they're getting overwhelmed with these demos because everybody and their brother has an AI technology now. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like pick up a rock and it's like, oh, we got this new AI tool, and so if it is a leadership issue and not a technology issue, there's plenty. If I just went out right now and said I want to see AI technology, I mean, you'd be flooded with thousands of emails and calls just to say, hey, look, I got the next best tool that's going to help you. But really, that's not the problem you're trying to solve. The analogy I make is, would you just randomly go to Home Depot and say, there's something in my house I need to solve, but I heard there's really good tools out there. Let me just walk around and look at all the possible tools.
That's a problem for me when I go to Home Depot.
Fair enough. Maybe some people are like that. Like, I just need to go see what I need to do next. But you started off where you're like, hey, there's a real problem in my house. I need to go fix it. Let's go find the tools next. And so that's really, we're trying to help give the confidence to CIOs, give the confidence to IT directors to say, you don't have to just rush out there and look at all these shiny tools. Maybe let's take a step back and let's formulate some strategy and vision around this and develop use cases that connect to problems. And then that's what we're going to go ahead and say, okay, now it's time to open the door a little bit and see what tools can meet that problem. Maybe you build it, maybe you buy it, but at least that's a better strategy than probably just sitting here taking calls all day. Because they're getting overwhelmed. Maybe ask any CIO, like, how many of you, how many AI tools come through your door? I mean, they're just like, and some will say, I've just stopped. I can't anymore because it's too overwhelming.
Sure.
What about AI as an attack surface or
I hear you.
I mean, I hate to go back to the military thing, but that is one of you've got good AI, bad AI. Mm-hmm. I've talked to a lot of people about cybersecurity. The more you experiment with it, the more flexible and dynamic your attack surfaces are as well. So
that's right. Yeah, I mean, from a cybersecurity standpoint, I know they're struggling with that. There's not the the Nigerian prince isn't writing you in half English anymore. And dear sir, I mean, it's going to sound legitimate to you. I mean, it's the scams are just going up and up and up. We go post a job on LinkedIn right now related to some technology and watch how many applicants you get. They're not real applicants. Maybe they are, but there's something that is amiss, right? Is because you have automated applications, you have automated email generation, you have agents that can call you and sound like they're your next door neighbor, and so the attack surfaces are you're right, is quite prevalent, and that's something you're going to have to really address and really kind of step back and start thinking about. On the topic of attack, though, that is one of the premises that I think is important. Maybe not on the cybersecurity side, but I say on the technology side, which is, right now is a time for leaders to have courage in the space of AI. So if you do have a vision and a strategy and you've developed that clarity, now it's time to have the courage And Patton essentially said, in absence of orders, attack, right? And that's been a theme of great leadership through history, is to attack a problem, not with haste. And there is a difference, and I could go into that, but it doesn't mean you just hastily run off. But I think now is a time for technology leaders to have the courage to move forward with attacking this problem of AI, in terms of whether it's in cybersecurity or whether it's adoption and implementation in your company. It is the time to act. And so if you're in times of, kind of going back to the combat analogy, if you're in a place of fear and chaos and uncertainty, the natural human reaction is to just have paralysis, or to make very small gestures towards a goal or an accomplishment, but not really be moving forward. And so that courage to attack is to say, we got to move forward. We're going to dictate our future a little bit. And so that's been, I like how you brought up the attack element. I know you went cybersecurity, but I do think I'm also telling people,
I think
you be on the attack too.
I think
right?
it's relevant. Yeah.
Very relevant.
If you're going to have a strategy, you got to have an underlying attitude.
Right. And that's what a lot is missed, because paralysis and fear are what's going to always keep you as a leader from doing what you need to do. And what I'm telling people is, again, that's not haste. I had a battalion commander in Iraq who said, don't rush to failure. And I kept that in my mind, because you can rush to failure just as fast. But it is a matter of using all of your professional experience and planning and your leadership to say, okay, we're going to still do something. We're going to move forward. We're not rushing. And we're going to do it deliberately against our use cases and our vision, because that's what's going to move your people forward. And I think the last point is really about a commitment to your people, because your people are really scared right now. And so you're really going to have to rally, if there's this big a disconnect. So if you've set a vision, you're starting to attack the problem with courage and say, hey, we're going to go after these use cases. You got to get your people behind it, because there is a Luddite dilemma that's kind of sitting out there right now. There are some surveys that are saying that there is a portion of your people that may be actively working against you in AI and sabotaging your efforts. How real that is, I don't know, but I do think there is a sentiment of, you're going to have to bring people along, and then you're also going to have to, as a leader, make some choices, because if people don't want to follow you along, those are going to become some dilemmas that leaders are going to have to kind of face here as they go. And so really kind of putting that all together is, being on the attack, but also who in your organization is getting behind you, how do you bring them along, and then what are you going to do when some say, I'm just not going to go along? It's going to be a challenge.
I know you've got a luncheon that you're going to for the veterans peer group. Yeah. But for the last question, I'd like to actually bring you back to that veterans peer group. And you've talked a lot about the sort of training and the analogies that we've used here to explain this crazy world of AI coming at us, and how really well prepared veterans are to address some of these problems. But whenever a peer group gets formed, there's always other problems that are getting solved within that group. So for leaders that are looking to leverage veterans, what are some of the things they need to be aware of that are challenges of veterans that are coming out of the military and into the workforce? What are the three things that are these are challenges that we're dealing with as veterans?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is an understanding of what a corporate leader or corporation is looking for when you're recruiting a veteran, because you're trying to translate what you knew and all of these acronyms and all of these things that a lot of civilian leaders don't understand, and in your mind you think it's like, I did a lot here, there were a lot of responsibilities. So being able to translate that, one, I know there's a lot of organizations that can help that. Number two is a network. People lose track of how valuable their network is as a young professional, just being in a company, if you're a young person, you're involved in some of the data meetups here in Nashville or in part of NTC and other places, you're building an advantage over time just because you know people. As a veteran, you don't have that. You've been moved around the country, the world, been potentially in combat zones, and your network is strong. You know your brothers and sisters in arms, but you may not have known, you don't know these others that can help you. And it's, I know Johnny, and Johnny knows so-and-so, and if I go to Johnny, he might connect me. So that's part of it, is the second one being the network. And third is some of the technical skills, is knowing how to start, just not bridging the gap. You may not have done hands-on Power BI, Dev, Databricks or Snowflake, but these are needed skills. And so how do I just say, I know how to code or I know how to do something technical? Maybe I need to go get some certification. So what are those things that companies would be looking for? And so I would say from my point of view, and that's not exhaustive in any means, that's some of the things I would encourage a veteran to think through. And so that's what we're trying to do, is bring us all together so others can say, hey, by the way, build the network. These are the things people are looking for, and really help get them an awareness of some of that from a decision maker as well.
Man, you're talking about leadership commitment, community commitment, and you're bringing the type of personality to the table that understands commitment.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
thanks for the leadership. I'm ready to charge hell with a water pistol with you.
Yeah, well, yeah, let's go. Well, I appreciate you, gentlemen. Appreciate you, taking time to sit down with me today, and really appreciate your support. I know both of you are supportive of these veteran groups as well, so appreciate that. And look forward to talking more.
And thank you for your service.
Thank you
Thanks,
for
sir.
your service.
It was honored to serve is what I say, so thanks.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of The Parallel Entrepreneur. And thank you to our sponsors, partners, and the special team behind the scenes that make it all possible. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to our podcast and get the latest updates. And to learn more about this growing community of entrepreneurs, our mastermind and companion program for your parallel entrepreneur journey, visit parallelentrepreneur.com. And of course, thank you to all the visionary guests who trust us to share their stories.